A brand new hour here on Weather Command, and also a new advisory from the National Hurricane Center in regards to Imelda. You are looking at the final update from Imelda, that final advisory. It is now post-tropical and is expected to continue to zoom off to the northeast. And any warnings or watches, mainly warnings that we had for Bermuda, those tropical storm warnings, those have been allowed to expire. Final advisory on Imelda. All right. Another name off the list, Stephen. Another name off the list, and another storm that's exiting stage right in the Atlantic Basin, right? Yeah, and even the NHC says it's expected to continue to be a large and powerful system as it moves across the central Atlantic. I can't get over that speed, though. East-northeast at 29 miles an hour. But, you know, as Imelda sort of wraps up, the National Hurricane Center has yesterday gone ahead and thrown out a couple of what we call lemons in the Atlantic Basin, showing the possibility that we could have two areas that slowly form over the next 7 days. Did you say her name? This is Marissa Torres. I'm Stephen Morgan. It's the top of the hour, but maybe that's super traditional. I don't know. No, it's nice to reestablish who we are, right? Maybe you're new here on Fox Weather. Well, we also want to bring in Fox Weather hurricane specialist Bryan Norcross. Gosh, Bryan, collecting our thoughts. Collecting our thoughts and the new info, right? And the new info, So, Bryan, take it away. Post-tropical Imelda.
Yes, it's over. Imelda is officially finished as a tropical system. Last night on Fox Weather, Ari and I were talking about this. Didn't really look like a tropical system then, but they did the analysis, the Hurricane Center. It was tropical enough to continue it until this very moment. It's still a 75-mile-an-hour storm, just not a tropical storm. We all know about nor'easters. They're non-tropical storms and can be quite powerful. So this has morphed into something more like a nor'easter, and there you see it, east-northeast at 29 miles an hour, which is not uncommon, by the way. Once storms get caught up in the jet stream in the North Atlantic, they zoom across the North Atlantic, and there was the pressure. There you see the storm, and if you notice, it has this thing sticking out of the bottom of it. It looks a lot like a front, doesn't it? Well, it is a front. As a matter of fact, it's evolved into a front. It was started out as a feeder band. What's going on right now in Bermuda? They're still getting the return flow on the backside as the flow comes around here. It's still a little big, a little moisture in it, and so there still have some showers going by, but finally the winds have dropped below tropical storm force in terms of gusts. So at this hour, 35 miles per hour, sustained at 23, you see there. Now, look as it went by last night. The center went by just to the south of the island. Here it was at 10 p.m., that's Atlantic daylight time, so that's 9 p.m. Eastern time, and you see the wind was coming around like this. So watch the wind direction as we go. That's that little arrow right there, was gusting to 43 at that time. All right, we're going to go up until midnight their time, or 11 p.m. our time, and you notice there's no gusts, and the wind has switched around to coming from this way because the center was to the south, so it didn't really go over the island. So since we know the wind was coming from the northeast at that time, that means that the center was just past the center of the island. This was at the airport, and the airport is kind of in the extreme northeast corner of Bermuda and is not at much elevation. Other places had winds much higher on the backside. You see the winds going up into the 50s, and that's as high as they got at the airport in terms of gusts, but other places elevated on the island got up in the 90s. So very gusty in some spots, but good news, everything we've heard out of there today. And there you see by 7 a.m. their time, still gusting pretty good, but things let up and the sun came up on a much nicer day. All right, here you can see it. Look at it on the visible picture. First of all, this is very pronounced, kind of front-looking thing down here. There's actually another front that goes up there and connects into Old Umberto, which is all part of that same frontal system now. But look at this here. What these clouds tell you is that's cold air coming down over warm water, and that's surging south behind the storm. So think of Imelda as kicking the air behind it to the south, and that's actually going to be important because that's the high pressure that's building in. That's why it's so nice and cool this morning in New York, as a matter of fact. So there you see the two systems, the two remnants, all part of this frontal system now, with this front sticking down to the south, and all of that is pulling the air on the backside on down and high pressure building in. So there you see in terms of the moisture, look how dry this is here, dry and cool air being pulled down, and there you can see the moisture right along the front there. Still just a little bit of moisture in here behind it. You saw not much over Bermuda. Okay, so here's the story on the high pressure, and it's a big deal. Like, there's what's left of Umberto in terms of stirring up the ocean, and here's Imelda stirring up the ocean, and that energy is kind of just being beamed out of both of those systems, so it's affecting the entire east coast of the U.S., all the way up to New England and all the way down to about Palm Beach, Florida. There, the energy in the water is coming toward the coast, and now with this high pressure surging south, that's going to kind of add to that. And as we go through the time, now watch today, up here. Watch as we go into Saturday. You're going to see that the storms pull away, but the direction of the wind with the high sitting here comes around like this and just keeps the pressure on the water toward the coast, mostly south of Cape Hatteras. In fact, mostly south of Cape Fear in North Carolina. So South Carolina and Florida on down to the Palm Beaches. And even in South Florida, the waves are unusually high and there's more than usual energy in the water. So all along here, the beach is dangerous because you get this extra energy. It's not just rip currents. Rip currents are a big thing for sure, but they're narrow channels. But everywhere in the water, there's going to be this extra energy under the water, which makes it more dangerous at the beach. Like the undertow will be worse than normal if you go stand in the water. You'll feel it all along those beaches there, not to mention the big strong waves as well. And that's going to continue into the weekend and probably through the weekend. I guess kind of a good thing the weather down here is going to be terrible at the beach, so that'll kind of keep people away anyway. All right, elsewhere, here's our tropical threat graphic, and you see there's 3 areas, but they're all on the low end of the scale. Notice the blues are down here at the low end in terms of the odds of some kind of a circulation developing. This isn't about anything to do with the strength of the system. This is just the odds of a circulation developing. Obviously, we know we have a circulation up here, so that's why we have the high red odds there. But off of Africa, today or maybe later today or tomorrow, we'll get a disturbance coming out that has a low chance, but not a zero chance, of developing as it heads on off to the west-northwest. And it would arrive in the vicinity of the islands about the end of next week, Friday-ish, maybe Saturday, end of next week. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll see what happens with those odds once the system comes off and the models can get a better handle on it. Near Florida, remember I'm going to go back one step here. Well, no, I want to go forward one step. Okay, I want to go forward to here, and you can see the Hurricane Center is noting both of those areas. That front that we were talking about, this is actually kind of part of that disturbance at the bottom end of that high pressure. That non-tropical low may form there, and with the very, very warm water, they have a very slight chance of something developing as it lifts north over Florida, or may lift a little north up the east coast. All right, now let me go back to this one because we have one more to talk about. In here, there's been some talk in the southern Gulf of Mexico. I think the energy with this is really in the Pacific, but some of the models, again, very, very low chance, show something developing down there, but no threat coming out of that. None of these, if you had to pick one to be a threat, it would be this one over here, and that would be a week from now, and obviously we don't have a good handle on that in the forecast. So, good weekend in the tropics, nothing to be concerned about, and next week we'll just keep an eye on a couple of these low odds things. Guys?
Are better than high odds. When I look at the tropical threat probability, the southern Gulf does intrigue me, Brian, because of these 3 zones, with Imelda ignoring that, the NHC has not highlighted anywhere in the Bay of Campeche. Care to assume as to why. I mean, I know with what the Hurricane Center is thinking, they watch for these trends, but there's been some consistency for the MDR and maybe the Florida system.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's broad model consensus. I can't remember, is it the GFS that tries to develop something there briefly?
Yeah.
But it's not broad model consensus, and it's been there, but it's been just consistently super low odds. And there is high consensus that something's going to develop over here in the Pacific. And when something develops, let me see if I can move this. Yes, look, we have the technology. So you can see on the Pacific side, and most often, this is not 100%, but most often when the Central American gyre is kicking off things in the Pacific, it's too far south, and that's where the focus of the energy is, and it doesn't also kick off things on the Gulf side or on the Caribbean side. That's not always. I've seen it do both, but that's pretty rare. So that's what the models generally are indicating, is that this is where the bigger threat is of something developing.
All right, well, it is October after all, so we'll be watching all corners of the basin, especially closer to home, Bryan. And before we let you go, we are excited to announce you've got another Q&A, my friend. It's going to be happening later today on all platforms imaginable. Facebook, X, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok. You can't escape Bryan. Today, 4 p.m. Eastern, you will be on the Fox Weather social media channels. But also, you're going to have a guest today. And this is intriguing to a lot of us because you're going to have a senior research scientist from Google DeepMind. This has been one of the higher performing models, but AI nonetheless, that I know also you have been really focused in on so far this hurricane season.
Yeah, I was a little bit of an outside consultant when they were developing this for Alet. Alet is just so smart and so articulate and can explain exactly what the differences are between the AI model, what the philosophy is behind it, and also the success they've had this year, just rolling it out just this year, which they tested it on past years, so it's not a super surprise that it was successful, but we'll talk all about it and answer anybody's questions that wants to write in. So I'm looking forward to it, 4 p.m. Eastern time today on your favorite YouTube, Facebook, X, TikTok, LinkedIn, or Instagram.
All of them. All available.
As you prefer.
Yeah, no, it's a really great approach, and we've talked about it before, that less formal setting where the questions can just be funneled. So excited for it later this afternoon. So we look ahead to that. Thank you for the insight at 11 o'clock with our final advisor on Imelda. Appreciate it, Bryan.